I'm Kathy Coram. I'm the Deputy Director of our Parks and Recreation Department, and I'm thrilled to welcome everybody here this morning and get this great day for St. Paul baseball kicked off. I usually don't speak with people behind me, but I'll have to hope that the players will understand for just a few minutes. It's my pleasure to introduce some really great volunteers, and they represent a number of their colleagues from the Friends of St. Paul Baseball, Mr. Hondo Hughes and Mr. Doug Carnival.
Thank you. Honored guest, Mr. Billy Peterson, dignitaries, elected officials, parents, and players alike. Today we all come together as one to celebrate and enjoy youth baseball at its best. I played on these fields for Bill Peterson back in the late 60s, and I can tell you it was not in as good a shape as it is right now. And why? Because there's an organization in St. Paul called Friends of St. Paul Baseball. It was established 10 years ago, and with the mission of enhancing the opportunity for youth and adults to participate in the game of baseball. Friends of St. Paul Baseball is comprised of citizens, parents, coaches, booster clubs, and businesses that are committed to improving baseball programs throughout the city. The primary objective of Friends is to raise funds to update and enhance the existing baseball fields, such as what you see here, and to build additional baseball facilities as warranted. To date, the Friends of St. Paul Baseball has raised over $1.2 million towards improvements of our fields. The Billy Peterson Field. The idea for this field has been kicking around for a number of years. Midway baseball behind us had outgrown its original field. We'd become a victim of our own success, so to speak. Too many boys and girls playing ball. So a group from Friends of St. Paul Baseball got together and wrote a grant for Major League Baseball's Baseball Tomorrow Fund. There were several keys to success of that grant proposal. First was the generous pro bono architectural and design work from Sean Gaither and Studio Hive. They saw a picture tells 1,000 words, and their wonderful images catapulted the project off the ground. Additionally, critical to the success of the grant were letters of support and a phone call or two from St. Paul's own Joe Mauer, reigning MVP of the American League, Paul Molitor, Hall of Fame 2004, and Dave Winfield, Hall of Fame 2001. You probably know all those names, except maybe a few of you younger players, that they grew up right in this neighborhood, one of them less than a good solid home run away from here. And that would be Dave. Groundbreaking for this $300,000 project was held less than 1 year ago. On hand were the Mayor of St. Paul, Council Member Melvin Carter III, Twins President Dave St. Peter, and others. And now you can see in the small amount of time, the project is completed. And to render a few acknowledgments, Doug Carnival, the voice of visitation and a product of New York City Sandlot Baseball.
Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, to make something like this happen, there are many, many people who need to be recognized, and some of them are with us here today. First of all the way from New York City, my hometown, from the grant coordinator from the Baseball Tomorrow Fund, Miss Megan Chisholm. The owner and operator of Sports Turf Specialties, Mr. Terry Donahue. From Silver Fox Surveying, Mr. Dick Dindorf. From Muska Lighting, Mr. Craig Gallup. Mr. Dave Albrecht from Dave Albrecht Irrigation. And providing a very generous personal gift, Mr. Mark Schrepfer. We also want to thank Dunning Boosters for much of their help in community meetings and engaging our neighborhood in making this project possible. Finally, of course, numerous individuals made tremendous contributions, from the Sunday afternoon rock pickers to the big check writers, who we also thanks. Everyone pitched in to make this happen. So, ladies and gentlemen, now speaking of pitches, I'm going to pitch it back over to the mayor's office for a special presentation.
Thanks. And again, just to acknowledge the work that the Friends of St. Paul Baseball has done in this community, projects like this just don't happen unless volunteers have a vision and continue to drive that project. So it's not only the money that they've helped us raise, but it's the work that they continue to do with our young players and our coaches all over the city. The other half of what funded this project was our Minnesota Twins and Major League Baseball, and we've already recognized Megan, and we're going to bring Bryan Donaldson up here in just a minute. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the Twins partnership has meant to us in the St. Paul, Minneapolis area. We have about 3 million reasons to thank them, because it's about $3 million that's been put in through the RBI and Rookie League programs and field improvement programs like this in the Minneapolis and St. Paul area over about the last 10 years. So for you parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles that are here, it's helped us put kids on the field. It's helped us buy uniforms and equipment. It's helped us get young umpires started. Not only the field project you're looking at today, but we renovated a field at West Minnehaha Recreation Center out at McMurray, and we completely rebuilt our batting cages at Rice and Arlington. So the Twins have been great, great partners, and I want you to give a really, really big St. Paul welcome to Bryan Donaldson from the Minnesota Twins.
Thank you very much. The Minnesota Twins, we've given more than $3 million to renovate ballparks in more than 300 communities across the upper Midwest, and we're not supposed to have favorites, but if you don't tell anyone, I'll tell you that this one here is one of our favorites. First and foremost, because the kids who play in the historic St. Paul Youth Baseball program play here in the Twins RBI League on this field, and that makes us very proud to have kids here playing in the Twins RBI program, playing in the neighborhood where our own Joe Mauer, Paul Molitor, Dave Winfield played. And it's also one of our favorites because it's named after Billy Peterson, and I don't think that you'll find a more legendary and a more humble youth baseball coach than Billy Peterson. And I think anybody who puts 3 players in the Hall of Fame, maybe 4, deserves credit, but it's the kids that he didn't put in the Hall of Fame that today still remember what he did for them and remember that he maybe turned their life around, and they don't know where they'd be today without Billy. So the Minnesota Twins are proud to be a part of this project, but more importantly are proud to honor Billy Peterson for what he did for youth here in the Twin Cities. Not just the Hall of Famers, but all the kids who came along that Billy helped. So I'll keep it short because I'm sure Billy wants to get out here and rake one more time before they play today. So thank you very much on behalf of the Twins. Congratulations on your new ballpark, and congratulations to Billy.
It really, really pleases me that Melvin Carter is here today. Oddly, Melvin and I share something in St. Paul. We're both athletes here. I'm an aging athlete. Melvin Carter is a much younger athlete. But we both grew up in recreation centers, participating in sports programs. And besides all the other great stuff that Melvin does in the council office, he's been a really, really great friend to Parks and Recreation. So Mr. Melvin Carter III is here with us and has a very special proclamation.
Kathy mentioned that I was an athlete. I actually had the distinction on my t-ball team as a kid to be the only one ever to strike out. So it wasn't baseball that I had my athletic career in. Thank you so much for being here today. This is a fantastic afternoon, morning, a fantastic celebration. It seems like just a couple of weeks ago that we were here to break ground and start this project, and now we're about to play a game on this field. It's pretty incredible. I want to say thank you to the Minnesota Twins for their incredible partnership with the city of St. Paul, not just on this field, but citywide. Thank you to Friends of St. Paul Baseball. Thank you so much to the Midway Baseball program, to all of the volunteers and donors who made this field possible. This is really incredible. This project wasn't without its hurdles. It wasn't without its challenges, but I really appreciate the way that we had a real community of folks come together and treat every one of those challenges, well, sort of like the way the Twins treated the Brewers yesterday. Access to a great field like this is really important, especially when you put it together for our children with access and engagement with adults and mentors and coaches and the volunteers who make this program tick. People like Billy Peterson. You all know here today that there are very few like Billy Peterson who have been engaged, who have been committed over the long period of time during which he has been committed to St. Paul children and to this baseball program. It's my honor to be here just to say thank you and to acknowledge Billy for his work over so many years. I want to read to you, and my comments are on behalf of myself, also on behalf of the mayor and behalf of the entire city of St. Paul. The mayor couldn't be here today, but he did send a proclamation and asked me to read this proclamation on behalf of today. It says, whereas Billy Peterson has devoted the majority of his life to providing positive leadership for youth in St. Paul, and whereas through his time as a devoted volunteer and legendary coach, he mentored and molded two of St. Paul's own into Major League Baseball's a dedicated recreation employee for 36 years, Billy P. supervised St. Paul's athletic program through the Municipal Athletics Office for 18 years. Excelling as an umpire, he was elevated to the National ASA umpire staff and has since become a member of the ASA Hall of Fame. And whereas Billy Peterson is now the president of the Friends of St. Paul Baseball and an irreplaceable volunteer for Dunning Boosters and the Midway Baseball program. Regardless of his multiple leadership roles, Billy Peterson has always touched the lives of countless youth and adults alike through his guidance and support. And whereas Billy Peterson has shown that going above and beyond the call of duty means positively affecting the outcome of so many people's lives, and whereas through relationships he developed over the years has helped guide others in the Parks and Recreation field as well as the St. Paul community to work together to improve the lives of all residents, and whereas the city of St. Paul remains committed to recognizing dedicated service similar to what Billy Peterson has shown over the last 5 decades, now therefore I, Christopher B. Coleman, Mayor of the City of St. Paul, do hereby proclaim Saturday, May 22nd, 2010 to be Billy Peterson Day in the City of St. Paul.
I'd like to steal something from the African community because there's a saying in the African community, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it certainly took a village, maybe a couple villages, to build this ball field. There were so many people that were involved, from a good friend of mine who had lost his job and sent a $5 donation and said, I wish I could do more, to some people that had given a tremendous amount of financial aid. Too many people for me really to recognize right here, but they're all in my heart. But I would like to recognize one organization and one person. The organization, of course, is where I spent 2010 is my 60th year in baseball. Wow. I started when I was 10 years old, so you do the math. But I started at Hazel Park Playground. Parks and Rec has been a tremendous part of my life. I was an employee there for 36 years. I am still an employee, non-paid, of course. But what I want to acknowledge to Parks and Recreation is what they did for us for this field. Not only, we could not have had the field if we didn't have the backing of Parks and Rec, because we would not have had the site to put it on. But the tremendous support that we got, whether it be truckloads of AgriLime, I called one time at 9 in the morning. I needed AgriLime really bad, and this was in the spring, before we, in fact, even had put on the truck drivers. 11 o'clock, a load of AgriLime was dumped out on the other side of the fence where we needed it. They've just been a tremendous supporter of this particular project and the whole program that we've done up here at Dunning. I would also like to say, thank them, and I also like to say that the Friends of St. Paul Baseball is committed to doing other projects, but we put our energies into completing the Dunning project. Now it's time for us to move on and do some other projects around the city. That's our goal, is to improve baseball facilities around the city. The one person I want to acknowledge is the unsung hero in the Dunning program, Mr. Jim Kelly. Brasia, my grandbaby, who is destined to play ball in another year or two. This is my grandbaby, Brasia. You can stay here with Pawpaw. Brasia lives with us, and boy, I tell you, it has been a trip to have these. There's probably one or two little tough problems, but I tell you, all the rewards of having her, especially someone at my age, is just tremendous. She comes before this field. Can you believe that? But anyway, back to Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly is the unsung hero. This field would not be here if it wasn't for the vision of Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly has been with this program for over 20 years. He does everything for it, but very little credit is thrown his way, and very few people know that he has been the backbone for more than 20 years of the Dunning Midway program. So on behalf of myself, for his great friendship, and for all of us who know his dedication, we have a little present for him. Come on, Jim. Whoop.
Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you.
Jim said he wouldn't speak, but however.
Yeah. Bill was my coach back in '64, so I won't tell you what my age is, but I asked Bill to come up here, 20 years ago, I think it was, to look at a sprinkler, and I kept him here ever since, so it's good for me. So. Thanks, Bill. Thank you.
All right, the last thing. When you guys leave the field, stay off the grass. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. I really appreciate the support that you've done for Dunning. Hi, Petey. Thanks, everybody.